Hey guys, welcome back to today's battle report. Today we're going to be playing through Chapter 4 of the Made to Suffer campaign for Walking Dead All Out War. Chapter 4 is titled The Best Defense, and it says, now all too aware of the threat from Woodbury, and with Rick recuperating from his injuries, the remaining prison group head out to an abandoned National Guard base to gather supplies for the coming fight. Unfortunately, the Woodbury Army has the same idea, and so the prison group hatch a desperate plan. It's time to blow the place to kingdom come. So you saw around the front corner there on the right of the screen, we have Tyrese and his group. And then in the opposite side back here, we have the prison team led by Bruce. And they're going to try and stop them from entering the National Guard armory and subsequently from looting it and blowing it up. If you guys want to jump ahead to turn 1, or any turn for that matter, you can use the timestamps in the description below. If you want to talk about the board some more and see some of the other details of the game, hang out and we'll go over those. So the first thing you'll notice if you're familiar with this scenario is our table setup is quite different from what the rulebook looks like. The rulebook uses the Woodbury map with the 4 houses from there. I've chosen to use this large building from Blacksite Studios, which is their police station. It's 2 stories. I've taken it and broken it down and put them next to each other to make one large building. Now, the way we're going to play this, if you watched the prison games, you'll know I like to treat this area right here as one continuous hallway. So if you go through that door, enter into this hallway, that wall's not there, and then you can come into this area down here as well. So keep that in mind. You'll also notice we got some terrain crate out there, so we can bring this board to life. We can have a mechanical room, a hospital, a reception area, all kinds of stuff, thanks to the terrain crate, which has finally landed at my house. We're gonna start this game out with 8 walkers inside of the National Guard post itself. Now, the rules call for 15 walkers scattered all over the board, and there's a lot of open space when you use the traditional expansion setup. What we're going to do instead is every time that we enter a room, we're going to roll a white die, spawn that many walkers inside of that room. Now for Tyrese's team to win, all they have to do is collect at least 5 supply tokens, one of them being the explosives. And then we have to detonate the explosives and destroy the whole building without blowing up any of our survivors as we're doing that. Now once the explosives detonate, anyone inside the building are going to be taken out with it. So we need to prime the explosives, get out of the building, and then detonate the explosives. And if anyone from Woodbury is left inside there, then so be it. For Woodbury to win, all they have to do is prevent us from doing that. So they can either wipe the team out or collect the explosives, sit on them till the end of the game, and then just run the threat up. For the Woodbury team back here, we're going to be using the no one stands alone rules to equip and move those guys throughout the game. So by default, we're going to get 6 characters and 140 points of equipment. Again, using the no one stands alone rules, we're going to take their starting equipment and give them 1.5 times that, or 210 points, which gives us a ton of equipment. So these guys are armed to the gills. And then even after I got done, I still had 58 points of equipment left over. So instead of loading them down with all kinds of useless stuff that they're just going to carry around, I went ahead and added an extra survivor to them. So they're going to have Smitty in there as well. So the Woodbury team is going to have 7 characters to start out this game, as opposed to Tyrese and his team, who is going to be mainly made up of the prison defenders, which look cool. I don't think we've seen a whole lot of these guys in gameplay yet. Especially that Andrea prison sniper. She's a bad chick if you saw her in the prison videos. So look out for her. We'll go over what all these guys are equipped with as we come to them in their individual turns. Right now though, let's go ahead and start turn 1. And so at the start of the game, we are turn 1, threat 1. We're going to start out with Tyrese, who is the prison advisor. And he has a special rule that says athletic, which allows him to move 10 inches as opposed to 8 when he makes a run action. So Tyrese is going to go ahead and run 10 inches and get right up there to the prison door, with his first action and use his second action to open the door. And now that we've opened that door, we're going to go ahead and spawn walkers inside. And remember, we're going to play it as when we open the door, we're going to spawn a white die's worth of walkers inside of each room. So in this room, we're going to spawn 2 more walkers. So we put 1 walker over by the door there near the counter and another one at the water cooler. Now back here to this Woodbury team, you can see there is a complete army of guys waiting to pour into this building. And look at that terrain crate stuff. It looks so good. If only this would have arrived a couple months ago for all those battle reports back then. We're going to start out and we're going to take, let's go with Bruce. Bruce is going to move up into contact with that door and open that up so his team can start moving through it. So first team, sneak into contact with it. Second action, open the door up. All right, so sorry I can't visually open the door for you guys. And back over here with this team, you can just imagine this first turn to be a lot of getting folks in and around these doors. So we're going to go over to Michonne and have her go 8 inches up there towards the entrance. So she gets up to right there, and we're going to say that with that door open, these walkers can hear the noise, just so we can get this game kind of spliced up here. So we're going to go ahead and move the closest walker within 10 inches to Michonne, which turns out to be that punk rock zombie. He comes off of the water cooler, and when you're moving walkers inside of buildings, they're not stopped by walls. So yes, he would have run into the corner, but he's going to continue to make his movement towards the sound of the noise, and he makes contact with Tyrese. All right, we'll try and catch the errors here early. So when we open up this door back here, we did not spawn walkers inside. So before we go and move anyone, let's do that first. So we look out and we have no walkers going inside of this building. What we're going to do is take Wes, who looks like Roadblock from G.I. Joe there, and he's going to make an 8-inch run right into the building. And that takes him inside. Luckily we spawned no walkers in there, but we do have that 1 walker there in contact with that utility cart. We're going to pull him off of that and see where he winds up at. And 6 inches later, he makes contact with Wes. And back to the good guys, we're going to take Glenn this time, 8 inches towards the front of the building. So right up here behind Michonne. Glenn, however, has the tread lightly special rule, so now we're going to roll the 50-50 die to see if he makes noise while he's running. So on the 50-50 die, on a badge, it will be good and will make no noise, and on a blank, it'll be bad, and we're going to make noise and attract another walker. So the noise that Glenn makes is going to attract yet another walker, and the closest one to him will be the guy down in the corner by the vending machine. So he goes ahead and moves over here, but he can't make it to Tyrese because of the doorway. Back over here to Team Woodbury. For those of you guys who are yelling at your screens, I moved the wrong person. The guy in contact with the door is actually Tom, not Bruce. Bruce is the guy down there in the camo shirt, this one. This time around we're going to take Bruce, and we're going to run him 8 inches in there behind Wes. And these hallways are kind of narrow, so he's not going to be able to make it in contact with that walker to help out Wes. The noise that's going to be created isn't going to attract anyone around. That guy's in a room by himself, and there's no one else within 10 inches. This side we're going to take Maggie, and she is going to go ahead and make an 8-inch run towards the entrance to the building. And again, that noise created, we're going to go ahead and pull that last remaining walker in that room over there near the doorway, giving us a nice cluster as soon as we walk in. All right, let's take Raymond this time and run him into the building as well. This side we're going to go and take Axel and have him 8-inch run towards the building. And tell you what, while we're right here, it's not going to make any difference to the gameplay at all. We're going to speed up turn 1. We're going to move Andrea 8 inches over there into that group as well. And now we got this nice little group ready to storm inside. All right, so same thing back here for the remaining members of Team Woodbury. We're just going to go ahead and take Gloria, Curtis, and Smitty and have them all run 8 inches into the building. And now over here, we got this hallway and the area immediately outside all filled up with Team Woodbury. All right, so that was a whole lot of moving around for turn 1, and nothing's really happening yet. We just got a whole lot of folks staged up. There's no kill zones to check. It's just those 2 walkers that are in contact with them, mainly because of that doorway in front of Tyrese. So we're going to go into our first event card, which will be Roamers. So we are at threat 1 still. So each player moves one eligible walker in the direction of their choice. So what we're going to go ahead here and do is take the walker that kind of looks like Pam Beasley back there in the office area and move her towards the counter or towards that door. And then we're going to take the nurse character over in the hospital ward and move her closer to the door as well. So we wind up with something like this. Alright, so melee combat. We're going to up the threat by 1 to 2, and we're going to go and start out with Tyrese against a single walker. So in combat, again, this is the prison advisor version of Tyrese. He is going to have double white as his base melee, and he's armed with Tyrese's hammer, which gives him a third white die. And if we roll any headshots on these, we'll get to add in an additional red. We're going to be rolling this against a single purple for the one walker. So Tyrese is going to win that combat there by a whole lot of successes to nothing, and we're going to move that walker back an inch and knock him prone. On the Woodbury side of the table, we're going to have Wes against one walker in combat. Wes in combat has a white as his base melee, and everyone say it with me, he is armed with my favorite melee weapon, the Gator Pro, which gives you an extra 2 red die in melee combat. I didn't give him the stab special roll, so these are not going to be re-rollable. So it's not as great as it normally is, but it's still good nonetheless. He gets to roll that against one purple for the walker. So Wes using the Gator Pro. Of course he's able to get rid of that walker. And so at the end of turn 1, we have pretty much everyone just waiting to get inside this one prone walker back here that we need to roll for to see if he's going to get back up. So 50-50 roll. Badge, he stays down. Blank, he gets back up. So we've gone ahead and raised the threat up by 1 because of solo play. Threat's now 3, and we're ready to start turn 2. We're going to start out here with Wes. And remember, we're using the no one stands alone solo rules here. Wes is a bruiser, and bruisers are always going to make a run action towards the nearest enemy survivor. So we've got Tyrese and them on the other end of the prison. Wes is going to go and make an 8-inch run action. Remember, we can go through this hallway right here. So he's going to go up through the hallway and see how close he can get to that side. So he's going to run up into the hallway and into contact with the walker near that supply counter. And then onto this side, Tyrese is actually a runner in this form. So we're going to go ahead and have him make a 4-inch sneak action through the doorway. Runners get to automatically pass climb tests, so he can go up and over top of that counter into contact with the first supply token, which is the filing cabinet back here. And now that he's in contact with that, we'll go ahead and pull our first supply card for this game. And Tyrese actually finds an M4 carbine. So we'll go ahead and put this in his hand. Back around here on this side with Team Woodbury, we have Raymond over here in the red hat with the Canadian tuxedo on. He is going to be a runner. And runners always go towards the closest supply token and search it if possible. So he's going to go ahead and make an 8-inch run action towards the janitor's cart in this hallway, which is right over here. And we're going to draw our second supply token. Now the way that the explosives are mixed in here is we took the one special objective supply token card and then mixed that in with 7 other supplies randomly from the deck and put them on top. So here's our second card, which is actually the special objective. This is going to make it a little bit harder for the good guys. And back over here at our building entrance, you can see Michonne's headband peeking up down there. We're going to have her go and make a sneak action inside of the building, and she's going to go into contact with the walker in the army green hat. And on the Woodbury side, we're going to have Tom, who is a tactician. Tacticians, using the no one stands alone rules, play the scenario objectives. So we're going to want to try to collect as many supply tokens as possible and then protect Raymond, who has the explosive pack. Tom's going to go in 8 inches up and around the corner this way and open up this door here leading into the maintenance room. And there's already one walker inside of there, but now we're going to go ahead and roll the white die and spawn that many extra walkers inside of there. And we go ahead and spawn one more walker inside of that room. Alright, so back over here with the Woodbury guys now. We're going to have Bruce there in the camo shirt. He's going to go up and open up the door leading into what we're playing is like a hospital wing in this National Guard building. So first action is going to be to go up into contact with that door, and second one will be to open it up. And on this side, we're going to take Glenn, who is actually a tactician in his prison guard version. And instead of him just coming up and jumping across the counter there like Tyrese, we actually have to roll the climb test to see if he can do it. So Glenn's either going to come up, jump over top of the counter, and probably engage the lady walker behind there, or he's going to fall down on the door side next to Michonne and engage the prone walker. So climb test for Glenn. Bad, he makes it over. Blank, he falls down. And it's just going to be one of those games where not a whole lot is going to go my way. All right, we got Smitty back here in the black hat at the start of the entrance. He's a runner, so he wants to pick up the supply token. He's going to run right up there past Bruce and into the room with the walker to get close to that supply token. And that noise is going to draw the closest walker into him. All right, so back here, we still got all these people just waiting outside of the building trying to get inside there. And it is a huge cluster right inside. So all we're going to do, one at a time during their turns, try and get them to 8 inches in and hurdle that counter. If they can't make it, they're just going to be sitting right there at the top of the steps. So we're going to start out with Axel because he's the closest. So we're going to roll a climb test for him, and if not, he's just going to fall short right there behind Glenn and Michonne. So can you imagine how Glenn feels standing there, or maybe he's still sitting there on his ass, wondering how Axel made it up the counter and he couldn't. It's got to be the riot gear. Over here, Tom is a bruiser, and remember, bruisers want to run towards the nearest enemy survivor. So Tom is going to go 8 inches in the building and right up there behind Wes into that hallway. And he winds up right back here. All right, Maggie's up next. Again, we're going to go for her climb test and see if she can make it across the counter as well. So we go ahead and take her from here, right past Glenn, and she's going to help Axel with this walker. We got Curtis and Gloria left down here. Curtis is a runner. We're going to go with him 8 inches right towards the closest supply token, so he's going to go up there behind Smitty. And he gets just on the other side of the door right there. All right, just Andrea left on this side. Let's see if she can get up and in as well. I guess we couldn't pass them all there. So Andrea is just going to go from right here to just right there at the doorway. There's not enough room to get her base through the door or on the other side of the wall. So she's going to have to sit right here. All right, and our last survivor to be moved here will be Gloria. Gloria is a marksman, and marksmen are always going to, by default, try and shoot the enemy. The enemy is nowhere near in sight, so all she's left to do is make a sneak action in their general direction. So we're just going to take her 4 inches barely in through this hallway, and she just plays it safe and makes it to right there. And so with all the survivor actions done, we don't have any kill zones to check because this area over here is too narrow for that walker to get through, and everyone else who is next to a walker is already in contact with them. So we're going to go right into our second event card. And we have Armored Assault. So 2 armored walkers enter play and are moved towards the closest survivor. So what we're going to do is place those guys in opposite ends of the board. So back there in the hospital ward, we have a armored walker in that corner. And we'll come around here and hopefully it'll show up eventually right there. At the end of the long hallway by that door, there is another armored walker right there. So now we'll go ahead and move them towards the closest survivors, and we wind up with that walker being right outside of Smitty's kill zone, and over here, this armored walker is waiting right outside of that door, kind of in between both teams. Tell you what, while we're looking right here, let's go ahead and start the melee phase. We're going to up the threat by 1 to 4, and we're going to have Wes against 1 walker. So remember, Wes in combat, 1 white and 2 red against 1 purple. And Wes manages to win combat there, so we move that walker back an inch and knock him prone. Come around to this side, and we're going to have Axel and Maggie against a single walker. So this is the prison defender version of Maggie, and she is going to have a double red for her melee, and Axel has a single white. So we're rolling 2 red and 1 white against 1 purple for this walker. And we also knock that walker back an inch and prone. We'll come around to Michonne against a single walker. Alright, so Michonne should be able to take out this walker. She is her Vengeful Hunter variant. So she has a blue as her base melee. She also has a katana, which will give her an additional blue. And she has the stab special rule. So we get to re-roll any die that we want to because of that. So we're going to have 2 blue against a single purple. And let's go ahead and re-roll the blue. And Michonne is able to go ahead and remove him with the re-roll. So now we have Glenn against the prone walker. So Glenn against the prone walker. This is the prison guard version of Glenn. He has a double red as his melee, and he's actually not equipped with any melee weapons. He is wearing a set of riot gear and a riot helmet, but that's not going to help him here. So we're going to have 2 red against 1 purple. So Glenn just barely wins combat there, and remember, because we're fighting a prone walker, we only have to beat them in melee to remove them from the board. We don't need to roll that headshot. So we're done with this side. Let's move around here, and we're going to have Smitty against a single walker. So Smitty is armed with a Mossberg shotgun, but that's not going to do him any good here because you can't shoot it while you are in melee. So he has a red as his base, and we're going to be rolling 1 red against 1 purple. So we tie combat over here, and we just go ahead and move that walker back an inch. So after all melee combat, we got a couple of prone walkers that we're going to roll for here in our end phase. We got the one that Axel and Maggie knocked over, and the one that Wes knocked over back there in that hallway. So we'll roll back there for the walker near Wes first. He's going to get back up, and now for the walker up front by Maggie and Axel. And she stays down. While we're down here, we'll go ahead and advance the threat up to 5 and go into our next turn. Turn 3, threat is up to 5, and Tyrese has the initiative again. So we're going to start out with him and have him sneak through Axel and Maggie and open up the door leading down that hallway. Like that. And because that's a new area, we have to roll to spawn walkers in that area now. And we go and put 1 new walker back there at the end of the hallway. I'm going to come over here to Wes now and have him run up, trying to get to Tyrese, and he's going to engage this walker. I'm actually going to go and move him around to the side of the walker so that I can get Tom in contact with it in a later turn. And we bring him up to right here. And we're going to take Michonne now and have her come around here by these chairs and engage this walker. Alright, now we're going to take Tom over here and move him up into contact with that walker that Wes is fighting. And now, even though that tool cart in that hallway is a supply token, he's not going to collect it because he's a bruiser. And remember, he just wants to get to the enemy. He's going to leave it to the runners in that group to pick up the supply tokens. Glenn over here is going to make a run action, and he's going to go over around that walker and Michonne down to the vending machine in the corner and collect the supply token down there. And Glenn will find another set of riot gear. So we'll go ahead and put this in our pack to hand off to a character in a future turn. So the noise made by Glenn running around into the vending machine is going to draw in the closest walker within 10 inches of him, which got really dark there on camera, but the armored walker is going to shamble into contact with Tyrese there in the doorway. All right, Bruce back here, remember he is going to play the objective, so we're going to get him to sneak down to this maintenance door and open that up so someone can run inside and pick up the supply token in there. And now that that room is open, we'll go ahead and spawn additional walkers inside of there. So we drop an extra walker inside of that room. Maggie's going to move up and go into contact with this prone walker. Okay, now Smitty is a runner, and remember, runners have to go towards the nearest supply token, running if possible. So he's going to go over and run around to this medical table right here, which is a supply token. So he jumps up and over the bed and past the walker over here to the supply token. But the noise is going to pull in the closest walker to him, and that happens to be the armored walker. So now over here, Axel is pretty much locked in place, so we're just going to take him and try and lower the threat with him. And just like all of our other 50-50 rolls, badge is good and threat will go down, and blank is bad and it will stay where it is. So we roll the badge, and we're going to drop the threat back down to 4. So you see Gloria peeking over top of that wall right there. She is going to make another sneak action to try and get over towards the other team. So 4 inches for her, puts her over here in this hallway. So Andrea is our last survivor on this side to activate again, and with her, we're going to take her, sneak 4 inches into the building, and open up the door to get on the other side of the counter there with Tyrese and Maggie and Axel. And because we've already got team members on that side of the wall, we don't need to spawn any new walkers there. And now on this side again, we just have these 2 runners left. So we have Curtis and we have Raymond. Remember, Raymond has the explosive supply counter, so we want to try to protect him. However, he still has to move towards the closest supply token. It says we want to try to end our movement not within the kill zone of 2 walkers. Don't know if we can do that. Here, we're going to take him and run him into that building, up into the back corner near that chair. So Raymond makes the run action into the corner of that room there and draws in the closest walker to him. The runner has to end his move outside of the kill zone of more than 1 walker, which he has here. And now we will go down to Curtis, who is standing in the doorway right here. Curtis is going to make a run action down there by Raymond to get in contact with that supply token as well. And he is also going to draw in the closest walker, who makes her way down into contact with him. And that's going to be all of the survivor actions for turn 3. So looking at kill zones, everyone is pretty much in contact with a walker. Bruce over here is going to be in the kill zone of her, so she's going to move into contact with him now. And with that, we can go into our next event card, which is a sign from on high. So we are currently at 4 on the threat level and low threat. So we're going to have -1 and then no effect. So we drop back down to 3. However, we're going to raise the threat back up to 4 because we have got plenty of melee combat happening this turn. And we're going to start out with Bruce against 1 walker. So Bruce in combat has a blue as his base, and then he's also going to have a single hammer, so we're going to add extra white to that. So blue and white against a single purple. So Bruce is able to go in and remove her from play, and now we go over to Raymond. Raymond again is a runner. Runners are always going to defend in combat, and they get equipped with body armor. So he has a white as his base defense, and then he is wearing interceptor body armor, which is going to reduce any damage taken by a white die. So we have purple attack against white defense. So he would be taking 1 point of damage, and now we'll roll to see if his body armor can help him out. We're going to deduct this much damage from that. So he's fine. So Raymond loses combat, but takes no wounds there, so he moves back an inch into the corner. And now we'll come back here to Smitty against the Armored Walker. Alright boys and girls, and this is why you pay attention to your cards. I know we got 13 characters that we're playing through here, which is a lot for a single player game. But Smitty is actually a marksman, so he should be following Gloria over there instead of running after supplies. Too late in the game to fix it now. So Smitty is actually going to choose to defend this time around. He is going to be rolling a white in defense against a purple for the walker. So he wins combat, and we move that walker back an inch and knock him prone. Now we'll have Curtis against the female walker here. Okay, so Curtis, definitely a runner, and he's going to have 2 red as his base defense, and he's also wearing body armor. He's wearing just the regular body armor card. So it says reduce damage taken by enemy attacks by 1. So we're going to have 2 red and 1 purple. So Curtis is able to defend himself, and we just move her back an inch, and she is not knocked prone because we're just defending. This side of the table over here, you do not want to get double teamed by these guys. So we're going to have Wes and Tom against a single walker. So we already know that Wes has the Gator Pro, so he's going to have a white and 2 red as his attack. Tom has a white and a red as his base melee, and then he's also armed with the felling axe, which is an additional 2 white. So Tom is rolling 3 white and 1 red for his melee attack. And we're rolling all of them against single purple for the walker. And that walker is very dead. Now we'll come over here and we're going to have Maggie against the prone walker. So Maggie will be rolling 2 red against 1 purple. And remember, all we need to do is beat the walker's defense. And we go ahead and remove her from play. And now we're going to have Michonne against this walker. So Michonne double blue against single purple for the walker. So he just goes back 1 and prone. And we'll finish it out with Tyrese against the armored walker here in the doorway. So Tyrese is going to be triple white in attack against single purple for the walker. And remember, this walker is going to ignore the first headshot if we roll one. So we get 1 headshot. Because of that, we get to add in an additional red die to this. So we got the 1 headshot over there. We're basically just looking for an extra headshot on this roll. And we don't get it there, so he just goes back 1 and prone. And I'm putting the prone markers up on the walls there because it's a little tight to get my fingers down in there to pick those guys back up. So at the end of turn 3, we got a couple prone walkers that we're going to roll for here. And it is currently 2 supply tokens to 1. And Tyrese's team is winning there, but it doesn't really matter because Bruce's team has the supply token that Tyrese needs to blow the building up. We're going to go and roll for these prone walkers now, and then get ready to go into turn 4. Prone walker check. We're going to start out with the armored walker over in the hospital area by Woodbury's team. Stays down. The walker that Michonne knocked down at the entrance to the building gets back up, and the prone walker that Tyrese just knocked down gets up as well. And as we start turn 4, Woodbury has initiative. We're going to go ahead and start with Wes. Wes is going to move up into contact with this door and go ahead and open it up. And we're going to keep him off to the side there so that everyone can continue to now run through it. So we're going to come over here to Tyrese, and he's going to start out by taking the M4 carbine that he picked up and passing that off to Maggie because she is much better suited to use that than he is. And then for his second action, we're just going to go and try and lower the threat. And I want to go ahead and keep this down because I think the threat is going to get kind of crazy in this turn. So let's see if he can do this. And he can't. We're going to stay at 5. Alright, so now what we're going to do is take Gloria, and she's going to sneak up 4 inches and get right behind the armored walker in that hallway. Then she's going to use her second action to take a shot at Andrea down the hallway. So we go ahead and bring her up here, and what we're going to do is go and give Andrea an extra red die for cover because Gloria is shooting around this walker here. So we'll get down to the dice tray, and I'll explain what we're going to be rolling. So we're going to start with Gloria. Gloria has a white as her base shooting, and she's armed with a shotgun, and it is the UTAS UTS-15 shotgun. It is multiple shots, and it's going to give her an extra 2 white dice. So she'll be rolling 3 white dice in total, and Andrea has 2 red dice as her defense, and we're going to give her an extra red because of that walker in the way. So we're going to have 3 white against 3 red. So this will be the first shot. So just so we can keep track, we have 3 wounds total so far. And now for the second shot. And we're going to tie on the second one. So 3 wounds. So Andrea takes 3 wounds out of that, knocking her down to just 2 left. Because that was a shotgun and it's within 6 inches, she's going to be knocked prone. And the No One Stands Alone special rules state that all marksmen have silencers on their guns. So that's only going to create noise. We're not going to up the threat, and we're only going to move the closest walker into contact with Gloria now. which means that she'll be facing this armored walker. All right, so now Andrea, looking to return the favor, she is going to use her first action to stand up, and then her second action will be to go ahead and take a shot back at Gloria. So when shooting into melee combat, the first thing we have to do is roll the 50-50 die. And on a badge, we are going to hit our intended target, which here will be Gloria. And on a blank, we're going to miss Gloria and actually shoot the walker that she's in contact with. So now we determine that we're going to hit Gloria. Andrea has a blue as her base shooting, and then she's armed with a Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun. This is going to give her an extra red die, and if she rolls a headshot, then she gets to add an extra white die to that. And Gloria's defense is a single red. And so we don't get confused, we're going to roll Andrea's shot first, and then we'll roll for Gloria's defense. So Andrea manages to deal 2 points of damage to Gloria, and that's going to bring her down to 3 wounds left over, and it's also going to up the threat to 6 and have all the walkers within 10 inches move into contact with her, or move in closer to her. So Gloria is now in contact with 2 walkers, and the walker in the green hat comes over into contact with Andrea. All right, over here we're going to have Curtis use his first action to pick up the supply token that he's in contact with, and we find some bandages. And then his second action is going to be to try and run over to the next closest supply token. So to get around all those walkers, he has to do some maneuvering over top of the beds and then out and around that way. That is going to draw in the closest walker to him, and now we'll move her, and we wind up with this. And we're going to take Glenn down here and have him move up behind Andrea with his first action, and his second action will be to pass off the extra set of riot gear that he picked up back to Michonne. Raymond back here is going to move over into contact with the maintenance desk and then pick up that supply counter. And we're going to find some horse pills. So we're going to put these into our pack. So now come over to Tom, and he wants to get to Tyrese and his team. So he's going to come barreling through the door. Unfortunately, he's going to run into that armored walker en route to Tyrese. That will, however, help out Gloria, as she's now not getting double teamed by those 2. So we're going to take Maggie with her newly acquired M4. First action is going to be to move her so we can get a better angle, and second action is going to be to take a shot into that cluster and try and hit Gloria. And we're going to go ahead and throw out a house rule here. So we're going to say that because there are 3 characters essentially involved in that combat right in front of Maggie, we're going to roll a d6, and on a 1-2 we're going to shoot into the walker, 3-4 will be Tom, and on a 5-6 we'll go ahead and hit Gloria. Alright, so the M4, Maggie is going to have a white as her base shooting, and that is multiple shots, and we're going to add a second white to that, and remember Gloria gets a single red for her defense, so now we can roll this all at one time. This will be shot number 1. So we do 2 wounds, so we put the 2 over there, and because we rolled the headshot, we'll do the ammo check now. So we're good to take the second shot. And shot number 2. That's enough damage to go and remove Gloria from play, and now we'll roll another ammo check. Still good. So Maggie pulls through there. We're going to up the threat by 1 because of the mayhem caused, and we're also going to go and move up that walker in the Oriole shirt because of the mayhem as well, which puts him into contact with Tom. Smitty back here, who we realized was a marksman in our last turn, is going to move over to try and take a shot at the closest survivor now. We're going to go and run him over that way to try and make up for lost time. So we move him way down this hallway over here, and we're going to move the closest walker to him, which is actually the guy up here in the red hat, and he is going to come down into contact with Bruce as he tries to exit the room. All right, so with that walker going into contact with Bruce, we're not going to get to activate him. So that's going to be all the activations on the Woodbury side. That leaves us with Michonne and Axel still to activate over here. We're going to take Michonne first and get her to try and reduce the threat. And then for her second action, she's going to move up and into contact with that walker to help out Andrea. And the threat's going to come down by 1, to 6. Up here now we're going to take Axel and move him over into this doorway as well, and then try and reduce the threat even further with him. So one more time, rolling 50-50 die. I'll stay at 6. And with all of our survivor actions done, we're going to go ahead into our event phase. You can see that there are no kill zones to check. Everyone who can be in contact with a walker is in contact with a walker. Some people are in contact with multiple walkers. So we're going to go to our event card, and we have drawn to chaos. So +1 to the threat takes us to 7. And we are still in all quiet. So we're going to have red walkers enter play from each table edge. And to make it interesting, what we're going to do, because we're inside the building, we'll just bring them in on the inside of the building at the table edges. So we're going to bring on an extra 4 walkers. So we go ahead and bring on a couple extra walkers for each table edge there, and we try and space them out evenly inside of the building. Let's up the threat by 1 to 8 and start on the melee phase. We'll start out with Andrea and Michonne against 1 walker. Alright, so Michonne is going to be rolling 2 blue for her melee. Andrea has a single white for her melee, and we're rolling that against a 1 purple for the walker. Michonne is actually able to re-roll her dice because of the stab special rule, so let's go and re-roll 1 of the blue to see if we can get that headshot. So they just managed to move that walker back an inch and knock it prone. We'll come into Tom against an armored walker and a regular walker. So remember, Tom is armed with the felling axe, so he's going to be rolling 3 white and 1 red against 3 purple dice because of the walker outnumbering rule. So Tom is going to remove 1 walker with the headshot and then knock the armored walker back and prone. And now we got Bruce against a single walker. Bruce has 2 white dice for his attack against 1 purple for the walker. And he knocks that guy back and prone. And we'll finish it out with Curtis against a single walker. Curtis is a runner, so he will defend with 2 red dice and 1 purple dice attacking him for the walker. And he's able to successfully defend himself and knock her back an inch. And after the melee phase in Combat 4, we have prone walkers everywhere. So before we finish out the turn, we'll go ahead and roll to see if any of these guys get back up. So we'll start out with the armored walker over in the medical area. It's going to stay down. The armored walker next to Tom will stay down as well. The walker that Michonne knocked prone stand up, and the walker in the mechanical room will stay down. We're going to go ahead and up the threat by 1 due to solo play to 9 and start turn 5. Start turn 5, we have upped the threat to 9. We are officially in medium threat now. We're going to start out with Tyrese's team this time, and we need to get out of that front entry right there. So we're going to take Tyrese and get him to make a sneak action through this doorway, and we're going to put him on the back side of Tom there. So we're going to move that door around a little bit to make room for him. So you can see what we did there. We just swung that door backwards and we put Tyrese in contact with him. Tyrese is just out of contact with the prone walker. So now we'll go over to the Woodbury side. And over here, we're going to go with Curtis, and we're going to need to run out of that medical area towards nearest supply token, which is this cart over here in the hallway with Wes. So we'll go and move him 8 inches. So he makes it all the way over there in contact with that. And now we'll pull in the closest walker, which will be the guy here at the end of the hallway. And he is going to move down into contact with Smitty. Curtis is going to go ahead and use his second action to pick up the supply token, and he will find some emergency supplies. This is a new one. Let's see what this says. You know, there's 1 health point lost earlier in the game to the searching model, and all friendly survivor models within 6 inches. So we put the supplies in our pack. Everyone around him is still at full health. That does give Woodbury a decisive lead here, as they are now up 4-2 with supply counters. There are still 2 left over here in what look like prison cells, but they're really secure storage locations. All right, time for another house rule. We're gonna go and say that friendly models can move through other friendly models. If not, we're gonna be stuck with this conga line of people trying to get through this single doorway right here. So we're gonna go with Michonne and have her slide around Andrea, Maggie, and Axel to get up here and help out Tyrese in combat against Tom. So we bring her up here into contact with him as well, and that was actually more than 4 inches, so we're gonna move the walker in the green hat right there over into contact with Andrea as he tries to get close to that point of sound. Back on this other table, we'll take up Bruce and get him to come over into contact with that walker and help out Smitty. All right, so Tom has a pretty crazy special rule that I'll cover when we get into the melee phase. But for now, we're gonna go with Axel, and we're gonna get him to also come through that doorway and come into contact with Tom as well. Back here we got Raymond. We're gonna go with Raymond, and he is going to run towards the closest supply counter, which at this point, remember, the only ones that are left are on the other side of the prison, on the other side of the guard armory, excuse me, and they're inside of those secure areas. So we're gonna go ahead and run him out of here and then down that hallway. And he's gonna wind up right over here behind Curtis. All right, so still got a little bit of room right there next to Michonne behind Axel on that side of the doorway. We're gonna go ahead and move Maggie on that side as well, and hopefully we'll be able to take out Raymond sometime in the future here and pick up those explosives from him. So we'll go and move her first. And now with her second action, we are going to try and lower the threat. And Maggie has a special rule called steadying influence. So she says whenever she attempts to lower the threat, she does not roll a 50-50 die. She will instead roll the white die and reduce it by that much. So let's see what she can do. Drop it by 1. I'll take that and I'll bring it back down to 8. And now the last survivor for Woodbury is Wes, and he is kind of landlocked. I know we said that we can run through friendly models, but Tom is engaged out there by just about everyone. So we're not going to move him through anyone. He's not really worried about reducing the threat. So we're going to leave him sitting there. Say that our last survivor to activate will be Glenn. And all we're going to do with Glenn is go and move him into contact with that walker so he can help out Andrea in melee. And with that, that will be all of our survivor actions. We can take a quick spin around here for some kill zones, but I don't think that anyone is going to be engaged at this point that already isn't. So what we're going to do is go into our next event card. And we'll come with Pandemonium. So +1 to the threat, back to 8 in medium threat. Each player rolls double blue and moves that many eligible walkers in a direction of their choice. And then blue walkers enter play. So starting out with Tyrese, because he has initiative, gets to move 4. And for the Woodbury team, they'll do 3. All right, so we went and moved all the walkers that we could on the board, and that was 4. And then we brought in 3 additional walkers and dropped them randomly against some walls. We're going to up the threat by 1 because of melee up to 10. And we're going to start out here with Glenn and Andrea against a single walker. You can see that the lady in the gray shirt there, we moved her. She wasn't able to get into contact with Glenn. So Glenn and Andrea will be rolling a combined 2 red and 1 white in melee against a single purple for the walker. So we go over ahead and remove that one from play, and we'll save that one there with Tom for our last combat. We're gonna come around here to this side now, and as we were moving walkers around, Smitty had another one sneak up from behind him. So we're gonna go ahead and split this off, and we're gonna have Smitty against 1 walker, and then Bruce against 1 walker. And so Smitty has a single red for his melee, and we're rolling that against 1 purple for the walker. So Smitty lost combat by 1 there, drops him down to 4 wounds remaining, and now we'll have Bruce against a single walker. Bruce has a blue and a white as his melee against a single purple for the walker. So Bruce removes his walker, and we move Smitty back an inch, and that lady is still standing there. And finally, we come over here where we have Tom against Tyrese, Michonne, and Axel. Like I said, Tom has a special rule that we'll explain now, and that is shove. So at the start of a combat which Tom is engaged, before any attack dice are rolled, he can roll the 50-50 die for each enemy in base contact with him. Now on a star, he's going to shove that model back an inch, and they're not allowed to fight against him in combat. So we'll roll the 50-50 die and see who Tom actually winds up fighting here. Alright, so we'll go in order of contact. The first roll will be for Tyrese. So he's going to stay in contact. This will be for Michonne. She's going to stay in contact. And finally, Axel. He is shoved back an inch. Alright, so that still worked out okay. We're going to go ahead and roll for the combat now. Tyrese will have 3 white dice. And remember, if he rolls a critical, he will get to add in an extra red. And then we have Michonne, who is rolling 2 blue, and she can re-roll both of them. So 3 white and 2 blue. Not going to re-roll those blue dice. Alright, so I know that looks bad, but don't count Tom out yet. Remember, he's going to be rolling 3 white and 1 red in his return attack here. So we wind up with Michonne and Tyrese coming up with a combined 8 successes against 4 successes that Tom rolled by himself. So that's a difference of 4. We add in the extra because the 1 critical gets us to 5, and Michonne's weapon is sharp, so now we get to roll the 50-50 die to see if we inflict the 1 extra wound. So on a badge here, we're going to inflict an extra wound, taking that to 6 total. On a blank, it'll stay at 5. So the combined forces of Michonne and Tyrese are too much for Tom to handle. Thank you to the sharp special roll on that katana there, we're able to take him out of play. That's going to be all of the combat for this turn, and it was a good one. So we got some prone walkers to roll for in our end phase here. We'll go ahead and take care of that now. All right, so prone walkers, we'll start out with the armored walker over in the hospital area. It's going to get back up. The walker over in the maintenance area will stay down, and the armored walker in the hallway with all of Tyrese and his survivors. It's going to stay down as well. We're going to go up the threat by 1 due to solo play to 11 and get ready to go into turn 6. So at the start of turn 6, the threat has gone up to 11. We are going to start with the Woodbury side, and we got Wes on the other side of this wall. He wants to get in contact with someone from Tyrese's team. He's going to rush his way through that door and wind up running to pretty much everyone. So we bring Wes through the door, and he immediately runs into contact with Tyrese. But remember, who used to be there? Tom. Tom used to be there, and he was in contact with Michonne and Tyrese. So Wes finds himself right in between both of them. While we're sitting right here, we're going to go over to Tyrese's team, and we're going to go back to Axel and have Axel just nudge up into contact with Wes, and we're going to get all 3 of these guys to actually fight this guy this time. Alright, so that's going to eat up a lot of characters on that side of the board. So we'll come around here, and we're going to take Smitty and get him to sneak up just in front of both Raymond and Curtis inside of this hallway. I'm just going to take that cart and throw it out of the way. They already searched the supply token off of it. We just need to get as many people in that corridor as possible. So back on this side, Maggie is tucked away in that corner back there. We're just going to take her and use her steadying influence again to go and drop the threat, hopefully. Nice. So we'll drop it by 2. Back down to 9. All right, so being the tactician on the team, Bruce knows that we have to keep Raymond alive. He's currently at the back of that string of people in that stairwell already. He's going to go ahead and make a run action to get in front of all of them. So it's just one more person that Tyrese's team is going to have to go through in order to get back to Raymond. So he runs all the way up there, and that's going to make noise and pull in the closest walker, which is on the other side of that hallway. Remember, when we're indoors, the walkers don't stop when they run into objects. So that guy's going to go through that hallway and then out the door, trying to make it over to the point of the sound and run into the back of Tyrese. Now down here with Glenn and Andrew, I'm actually pretty content with leaving them where they are. If we can somehow manage to get the explosives away from Raymond up here, we need to plant them and then get back out of the building to detonate them. Now these two are already down here by the door, so they should have a nice quick exit. What I'm going to do is take Glenn and move him over into contact with that walker by the door and try to get rid of her. So I still got Curtis and Raymond back here to move for the Woodbury team. Both of those guys want to get to the supply tokens that are over here in these two rooms. To do that, they have to run out that door, through that whole combat, and spin that corner. We can't do that right now. We can take him and run him up there next to Bruce at the doorway. So Curtis will make that sneak action and get right there next to Bruce. Over here with Andrea. Again, she's got a nice line of sight right down that hallway. Glenn's going to take care of that walker. She's going to use one of her actions to try and drop the threat again. All right, so we drop the threat again, down to 8, and we are back in low threat. That leaves us with the most important man on the board left to activate here, which is Raymond, who's carrying the explosives. So we're going to get him to make a run action, it's actually a sneak action, up there next to Bruce, and that'll be all for him. Just like that. We'll take a spin around for some kill zones. I don't think anyone is going to be further engaged, because everyone is pretty much right over here inside of this hallway. And we're good there. So let's go right into our next event card. Too quiet. So +1 to the threat will put us at 9, and we are in medium threat. So the groans get louder. Add 2 more to the threat level. So we're going to go up 3 in total, taking us up to 11. But we're not going to stop there though, because we're going to go into the melee phase. We're going to up the threat by 1 again to 12. And now we're going to start out with, let's go with Tyrese against a single walker. All right, so Tyrese rolling 3 white dice against 1 walker's purple. So Tyrese just totally smashes that guy to pieces. And now we're going to have Wes against Axel and Michonne. So we're going to go and roll for Axel and Michonne's attack first. Axel has a white for melee, and Michonne will be rolling 2 blue that are rerollable again. I'm going to keep that. And for Wes, remember he has a white as his base, and he has the Gator Pro, so he gets an extra 2 red to his melee. And so we wind up with a total of 6 successes for Axel and Michonne against 3 successes for Wes. So we're going to do 3 points of damage plus an extra 1 for the headshot. And now we're going to roll to see if Michonne gets the bonus again from the sharp keyword. So not even the mighty Gator Pro could save Wes from the onslaught there. I forgot about Glenn up here. So we're going to have him against 1 walker, and then that's going to finish out the melee phase here. So Glenn has the slippery special rule here, and we could try and get out of this combat if we wanted to, but I'd really rather get her out of the way and again have that clear path to get right out of the building. So we're going to attack with 2 red dice against 1 purple. So Glenn whiffs on his attack roll there, which kind of sucks, but it's okay, because he's wearing both the riot gear and the riot helmet, and the riot helmet says we get to ignore 1 headshot or 1 critical from an opponent's melee attack. So we're only going to take 2 points of damage, but the big thing is we're not bitten. We're still going to wind up having 3 wounds left, and that's going to finish out the melee phase. We got 2 prone walkers to roll for in our end phase here. Still no bites, but let's see if either of these guys get back up. So we'll start out with the walker over there in that mechanical room, see if he gets up. And he will. And now the armored walker in the hallway there next to Tyrese and Axel. He gets up also. We'll go ahead and up the threat at the end of the turn here. Puts us at 13. And get ready for turn 7. So here we are in turn 7. The threat has moved up to 13. And we're going to try to anticipate some of the AI movement here. So we're going to take Tyrese and get him to, instead of rushing into combat with Bruce, we're going to get him to come back behind the armored walker to open up that hallway, and he's going to go into contact with that armored walker back here like that. That's now going to open up this hallway here some for Curtis, who's going to make a run action to get out of that room in front of Bruce and then over to this first, what we're going to call like a armed area. And he's going to come over and open up that door so that he can hopefully get out the supply token from inside. So we come over there and open up the door, and remember that's a new area, So we're going to go ahead and spawn white walkers inside of there. Hopefully it's not a lot, because that's a small area to put them inside of. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and take Maggie, and again, first action will be to try and lower the threat, because second action, she's going to take a shot at Bruce through that doorway, and she's going to throw that threat right back up. Alright, so first we'll see if we can get the threat to come down some. By 1 to 12. And now we're going to use that M4 carbine to take some shots at Bruce there. So remember, double white, and this is multiple shots, and it's reliable. So double white against double red as Bruce's defense. So the first shot does a total of 4 successes minus 2 that Bruce rolled in his defense. So we're going to do 2 wounds plus 1 for the critical. Let's roll to see if we can take our second shot now. And we can. So here's our second shot. And we're going to do 2 more wounds. So Maggie does 5 total wounds to Bruce there. Causes mayhem, which has the threat go up to 13 now. And we moved a ton of walkers all around the board. So we've got folks down here. We had someone come back through the hallway into contact with Smitty there. The one came out and is now in contact with Curtis. And for anyone wondering why we didn't give him an extra cover die or anything, she's got a pretty clear line of sight right through that doorway to him. So now Bruce, being down to his last wound, is going to try to return the favor, and he is going to take a shot at Maggie. That will also up the threat again, getting them closer to victory. So it's a very tactical thing for him to try and do. So Bruce shooting at Maggie, he is going to have a white as his base, and then he's armed with a Beretta 92, which will give him an extra white to that. And Maggie's defense is double red. She's actually carrying around a riot shield, but that doesn't do any good against the ranged attacks. So we have double white against double red. So Bruce is able to do some damage to Maggie there. He knocks her down to 3 wounds left, and we up the threat by 1 to 14, and we're now officially in high threat. So we still have Axel and Michonne left to move on Tyrese's team. Axel has medium threat, so we're going to go and start with Michonne and just get her to move in contact with Bruce there. We're going to start by having her try and reduce the threat though, to see if we can get Axel to act normally. Alright, we do. And we get that back down to 13. And like I said, we're just going to take her and move her now into contact with Bruce. So we do a little bit of shimming around there of some bases because that door is not quite wide enough to fit her through. But we put Michonne in contact with Bruce. So we got Raymond left to activate on the Woodbury team, and there's not really a whole lot that he can do. He wants to run around to get that last supply token, but he's kind of locked in there. So we're going to skip over him and go over to Axel, who gets to act normally now because we got that back down to medium threat. He's going to go into contact with that armored walker and try and help Tyrese out and get rid of him. And so with all the mayhem that happened there during the players' turns, most people got stripped of their activations because walkers moved into contact with them. That is all of our player activations for turn 7. So we can look at some kill zones, but I don't think anyone else can actually have a walker move into contact with them. So what we're going to do is go right into our event card, and we get +1 to the threat, takes us to 14 in high threat, and we're going to get blue walkers enter play from each table edge. Alright, so what we did there was just take 4 walkers and randomly drop them along the perimeter wall inside of this already walker infested building. We're going to take the threat and turn it up 1 more to 15 now as we start the melee phase. And we're going to start out again back here with Glenn and Andrea against this single walker. So Glenn and Andrea against 1 walker. Alright, so after that subpar performance there, we're going to go to Tyrese and Axel against this armored walker. Alright, so Tyrese and Axel combined are going to roll 4 white dice against a single purple for the walker. And we'll go and say that Tyrese rolled that headshot, so we'll add in 1 extra red now. So we're really just looking for a headshot here to see if we can get rid of the armored walker. Alright, so we can't get rid of that guy. We just go and separate them out a little bit. Let's go back there to Smitty against a single walker in the back. And Smitty attacking will have one red against one purple. Alright, so we tried to separate that out some, but it is very, very tight in that hallway. Let's go to Curtis against one walker over here. Curtis will be defending with his 2 red against 1 purple. So Curtis is able to defend himself. We push that walker back an inch, and we'll finish out the melee phase here with Michonne against Bruce. So Michonne, who's just been destroying people all game, is going to attack first here, and she's going to have 2 blue, and then Bruce will attack back, and he has a blue as his base, and he has that claw hammer, so he'll get a white in addition to that. So this is Michonne. Let's go ahead and re-roll that 1. So Michonne managed to roll a 4, and now for Bruce. Alright, so Michonne manages to keep it up, and she's able to remove Bruce as well, dealing enough damage there. We don't get the headshot in it, so he's going to come back as a prone walker. That is all of our melee combat for this turn. Let's roll to see if any of these prone walkers get back up now. Alright, so we still got that prone walker that Michonne... Alright, so we still got that prone walker that Tyrese and Axel have knocked over countless times. He's going to stay down. And now let's see if Walker Bruce stands back up. He does. We're going to go ahead and up the threat by 1 to 16 and get ready to go into what could be the final turn. And as we start what will probably be the final turn of the game, welcome to turn 8. The threat is up to 16 and Woodbury has initiative here. We're going to start out with Curtis, and Curtis is pretty much going to seal up the game for his team by sneaking into this secure storage area. And I hope you can see that there. That is one of the weapon lockers from the Mantic Terrain Crate 2. It looks really great, and it makes for a perfect supply piece for this game. So let's go ahead and sneak him in there and then see what he pulls out of the weapons locker. And he's going to find a shiv, so we'll go ahead and hand him that. Right now over here to Tyrese's team, we're going to start out with Michonne, and first action is going to be to try to reduce the threat. So we're going to be doing a lot of this turn. Let's see if we can start out on the right foot. And we do. We'll take it down to 15. And now for her second action, she's just going to move up into contact with Raymond there. And now over here for the Woodbury team, the only person we have left that we can activate is Smitty. So Smitty's going to take a shot at the closest unengaged survivor, which here is going to be Axel. So Smitty is using a Mossberg 500 shotgun, and because he's going to be shooting through that melee combat, we'll throw him an extra white die on top of his defense. Alright, so like I said, this is a multi-shot shotgun, and Smitty has a white as his base shooting, and then he has double red for the shotgun. So we'll roll that first. So first shot, just a 1. And for Axel's defense, he has a red and a white as the base. And like I said, we're going to give him an extra white because we're shooting through that melee attack in front of us. So we blocked the first one. And now for the second shot. And the defense. So Axel somehow takes no damage from the shotgun blast, either shot. So he stands there unscathed, and because we're using the no one stands alone rules to control Woodbury, all marksmen have silencers on their weapons, so we only create noise, so that does not affect the threat. And we're going to move the closest walker, which here is Walker Bruce. He's going to move down towards Smitty, and he's actually going to run right into Raymond as he tries to make his way down there. And you can see here just how close that was between Raymond and Michonne. As with all of Woodbury either activating or being involved in some kind of melee right now, all we have is Tyrese's team left to activate. So we're going to start here with Tyrese. First action will be to try and lower the threat even further, and his second action will be to sneak around there and engage Curtis in combat inside of that storage area. So we go threat first. And we drop back down to 14. All right, so now we're going to go with Andrea because she still has high nerve and can act normally. We're going to use her first action to see if she can lower the threat back down and get it into medium. And if not, that means everyone else is going to have to take a panic test. So this one is important. Looking for that badge. And we get it. And we come back down into medium. And then for her second action, we're going to get her to move over near those chairs there, because we're going to try to start making our way out of here, hoping that we can get those explosives and blow this place up. And while we're right down here, Glenn also has medium nerve. May as well see if he can lower the threat as well. All right, really been making out with these rolls so far. Let's see if we can keep it going. And we do. And we bring it back down to 12. Second action for Glenn will be to move up and engage that same walker with Andrea again. So then come around to Axel and Maggie, because we still have to activate both of these guys, and they're each going to do the same thing. We're going to try to lower the threat with both of them, and then engage the prone armored walker. So we're going to do both of these activations at the same time. Alright, so we're going to roll both of these at the same time. Axel will be rolling the 50-50 die, and Maggie will be using the white die to drop the threat by that much. So we miss it with Axel. We lower it down by 1 with Maggie. The threats come all the way back down to 11. That's going to be all of these survivor actions for turn 8. And we got a couple of kill zones that we need to check for, so we'll do that. And then we'll go into another event card. Alright, so we moved around some walkers. We got a lot of people in combat now. Let's go to another event card. And now we have Mega Herd. So all threat levels, a herd of walkers enter play. Player within should place the first walker using normal rules. Player alternates, placing all remaining walkers on the same edge within 6 inches. We are in medium threat. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to load up that hospital area again with 6 more walkers, and then have them all move out towards the hallway where everyone else is. And now we got this huge group of walkers ready to flood over there into those guys. So luckily that didn't do anything to the threat tracker. We're going to up it by 1 because of the melee here, and we're going to start out with Andrea and Glenn against this walker again. So in this never-ending fight against this same walker, we have a white and 2 red against a purple. Finally we get rid of it. Alright, so we're able to get rid of 1 walker so far. We had to split this combat off because a walker moved into contact with Axel during the kill zone phase. So we're going to have Axel against a single walker, and then Maggie against the prone armored walker. Alright, so we'll start with Axel against the standing walker. Axel has a white as melee against a purple for the walker. And we tie combat. And now Maggie against the prone walker. She has 2 red, and the walker, because he's armored, gets 2 purple in defense. We tie combat with them as well. So here we're going to have Tyrese against Curtis and 1 walker. So Tyrese is rolling 3 white dice in combat. And we get to use a special rule now that says if Tyrese is outnumbered in combat by 2 to 1, we're going to add an extra white to his attack. So Tyrese will be rolling 4 white against 1 purple and 2 red for Curtis' defense. So Tyrese gets 5 successes against 4 successes for Curtis and the walker. We get the headshot, so we get to add in an extra red die, so we'll go ahead and do that now. So we'll kind of separate that out, and Tyrese is going to knock the walker prone and then inflict 2 wounds because we have 1 more success and the critical onto Curtis. Curtis is wearing the body armor, which is going to reduce damage taken by 1, so we're only going to do 1 point of damage to Curtis. So definitely not as good as what we wanted to happen over there, but we'll take it anyway. Now we're going to have Michonne and this 1 walker against Raymond. So we'll roll Michonne and the walker together, and that will be 2 blue and 1 purple. We'll keep all of that right there. So we do a total of 5 wounds for her, and Raymond has a white in defense. which means when combat, we would put through 4 wounds. Let's go ahead and roll now for her stab special rule. See if we can inflict the extra one. And we don't. Raymond's wearing that interceptor body armor, so we're going to roll the white die and subtract this many wounds from what he's taking. So we wind up inflicting 4 wounds on Raymond, and that leaves him with 1 wound left. We separate that there out, and we still have Smitty against 1 walker tucked right behind there. So let's go and roll that, and that will finish out the melee for this turn. So we're gonna have 1 red versus 1 purple. Alright, so we still got everyone sitting right over here still. A lot of prone walkers to roll for. Let's go ahead and do that in our end phase. Alright, so we got armored walker that was fighting against Maggie. Stays down. Walker that Tyrese knocked over. Stays down. And walker that Smitty knocked over. Gets back up. We're going to up the threat by 1. Back to 13. And go to the next turn. And we're ready to start turn 10. And the threat is all the way up to 17. This has got to be the longest game of All Out War that I've ever played, possibly on YouTube altogether. So if you're still watching, thank you so much. We're going to start this turn with Tyrese over here. Tyrese has high nerve. First thing we're going to do is try and lower the threat, and then we've got to get this bag of guns that Raymond dropped in turn 9. So we're going to get him to lower the threat and then run into these two walkers, hopefully clear out a path so someone can pick them up. We're going to stay at 17. So we keep the threat at 17, and now second part, running down into these two walkers. We've only got Smitty left from the Woodbury team, so you'd think that he would want to go up and pick up that critical supply token, but he's a marksman. And remember, marksmen only want to shoot at the other team. So he's going to make a sneak action to get up into that doorway, and then second action will be to take a shot at Maggie down here in the front. Smitty's got that Mossberg shotgun, so he's going to have a white and 2 red for his first shot, because it is multiple shots. And for Maggie's defense, she has 2 as her base, and we got that 1 walker in between the 2 of them, so we're going to throw her an extra red to say that he's going to hinder this shot somehow. So 3 red for her defense. So we're going to do 2 wounds off of the first shot, and now for the second shot. So we're going to wind up doing 3 wounds in total. So I didn't even realize it as I was rolling the shots there. 3 wounds is enough to take Maggie out of the game. And we rolled that headshot, so she's not going to come back as a walker. That shot is only going to create noise, so we're going to pull in the closest walker to Smitty, who happens to be this guy here in the red shirt. We're not going to increase the threat. We're going to stay at 17. And now we're going to move in to go with Glenn. And we're going to get Glenn for his first action, try and lower the threat. Second action is going to be to make a run action through those doorways and come into contact with the walker in the orange shirt. But before we do anything with Glenn, he has to take a panic test because he only has medium nerve. So we'll go ahead and roll the panic die for Glenn. So Glenn rolls the scream face, which means we're going to make noise. We get to take 1 more action, but most importantly, it increases the threat by 1. Which sadly takes us up to 18. And that's it. This game turns out to be a draw. Tyrese and his team aren't able to pick up the explosives and take out the armory. But what a game. Well over an hour viewing time. We had so many character deaths throughout this game. And it ends with Maggie being gunned down by the last remaining survivor from the Woodbury team. And then Glenn takes the final turn in the game, rolls the panic, and screams to max out the threat. What an ending. But we wind up with a tie game in this one too, which seems to be the running trend in our last few games. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. In our next game, we're going to have a big one. We're going to have the tank out there, tons of guys from Woodbury, tons of guys from Rick and his team. If you guys like this terrain and you want to pick some of it up, you can use my discount code over on Blackslide Studios. The code is blankshot10, and you can save 10% on pretty much most of the stuff that's on their site. Anyway guys, again, I want to thank you for sticking around, watching this video with me. Hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, wait. Make sure you don't exit the video yet. Go over to Blackslide Studios and check out their awesome terrain. When you guys make up your mind and decide what you're going to purchase, use the discount code on the screen right now to save when you make your purchase. Blackslide Studios hooked me up with this discount code to pass on to my viewers so that they can have a gaming table just like this one. Well, maybe not just like this one, but still, a pretty sweet gaming table nonetheless. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and don't miss any of my terrain reviews or battle reports coming out. And I'll see you guys in the next video.